In a small town in Korea, extraordinary signs have been reported. Tears of blood, fragrant oil, statues weeping, and above all, miracles of the Eucharist. These are not mere spectacles, but calls to faith, invitations to believe more deeply in the real presence of Jesus in the Holy Eucharist, and to live lives transformed by His love. This is the story of Naju. Naju, in South Korea, is the place where Julia Kim began receiving apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary around June 30th, 1985. From that date onward, many phenomena have been reported. First, the statue of Mary weeping tears. Later, fragrant oil, healings, and messages calling people to repentance, prayer, and fidelity. Among the phenomena, a set of events stands out. Those connected with the Eucharist. These reported Eucharistic miracles include the visible change of the host into what appears as flesh and blood upon Julia's tongue, the descent of sacred hosts, even one witnessed in the Vatican. Now let's examine some of the notable Eucharistic miracles reported in Naju. On May 16, 1991, in the Naju Parish Church, Father Jerry Orbos from the Philippines gave communion to Julia Kim and others. Over 30 pilgrims witnessed that the sacred host received by Julia began to change. Capillaries forming from the edge, gradual transformation into visible flesh and blood. Perhaps the most dramatic testimony comes from October 31st, 1995, in a private mass in Pope St. John Paul II's chapel in the Vatican. When Julia Kim received the Eucharist from the hands of Pope John Paul II in his private chapel, the host is said to have changed into visible flesh and blood on her tongue. Witnesses recall that the Holy Father, leaning forward, astonished, he then made the sign of the cross on Julia's forehead, blessed the family, and later expressed his conviction that what he had seen was a true sign of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The Pope did not make a formal public declaration, since the Church requires careful investigation, but those present testify that he personally recognized the miracle as authentic and deeply moving. On October 16, 2006, a miraculous event involving precious blood flowing from the Eucharist is said to have been presented to Pope Benedict XVI through Cardinal Ivan Diaz. It is claimed that the Pope, after gazing at the Eucharist, instructed his secretary to preserve the Eucharist with respect. It is also claimed that in 2010, Pope Benedict declared, "I am favorable on Naju." Over the years, there are reports of 12 transformations of the external appearance of the Eucharist species into visible flesh and blood between May of 1988 and October of 1996, also 7 times between November of 1994 and August of 1997. The Eucharist is said to have descended from above, sometimes large hosts or multiple hosts, landing visibly in the chapel, witnessed by priests, laity, and the bishops. On July 1st, 1995, for example, 7 sacred hosts descended. Later, these hosts were consumed under the instruction from the local archbishop, including by Julia. Bishop Roman Danilek from Canada gave a sworn testimony about a Eucharistic miracle in Naju. When Julia received communion and the host changed in her mouth into living flesh and flowing blood, he and other witnesses saw this transformation. Bishop Dominic Su from Cebu, Malaysia, wrote believing testimonies from abroad. The Apostolic Pro-Nuncio to Korea, Archbishop Giovanni Bulaitis, observed several Eucharistic phenomena and reported findings to Pope John Paul II. Now, what is the spiritual significance of the Eucharistic miracles in Naju? What are they asking of us? Renewed belief in the real presence. These signs are meant to awaken or deepen belief that in the Eucharist, we truly receive Christ, body, blood, soul, and divinity. Many messages from Julia and from Our Lady emphasize sin, the need for confession, reparation, prayer, and living sacrificial lives. Some messages warn of priests offering Mass without faith or in sin. The seriousness of the priestly vocation is underscored. The Blessed Virgin Mary appears in tears in messages, urging prayer, humility, and trust. She is seen as a spiritual mother calling her children back to God. Naju remains a place of hope, mystery, and invitation. Whether one is certain or still discerning, the greater miracle is often what God does in our hearts. It is faith rising, it is love rekindled, it is communion with the Eucharistic Lord and with His Church. May the signs of Naju draw us closer to Jesus, present, offering, alive, and to Mary, Mother of the Church, whose tears of love reminds us that God expects nothing less than our full trust.